All right, now if you're a fan of the Israeli staple bamba or any of Israel's other major snacks, then listen up, because manufacturing company Osem is ruffling a lot of feathers this week. Several supermarket chains and activists are even calling for a boycott of their goods, as the Israeli food giant is announcing a pending price hike of between 3 to 7% on all of its products. Here with the detailed analysis is economic consumer behavior expert and assistant professor Vili Abraham. Vili, thanks so much for being with us again. Now, we've heard of price hikes and threats of price hikes many times before. Osem is no stranger to this, but this situation seems different. Why? Where is this coming from? Why now?
Well, across the globe, really, not only in Israel, but also in the United States and Europe, a lot of manufacturers have to deal with shortage in supply as opposed to increasing demand. And on the other hand, the price of raw materials have increased substantially. If you look at metals and plastic and rubber and wheat and sugar, all of these things have increased substantially. And we're talking about double-digit percentage points. And that's why a lot of retailers, until now, they were able to observe the increase in price. But now they're saying, that's it, we can't take it anymore. And unfortunately, we have to pass on the prices to consumers. However, if you look at the average prices of raw materials in the world, it's nowhere near the increase in prices that we're going to see here, meaning it's a lot higher. So if Nuva or Strauss or Osem in this case wants to increase prices to keep up with its expenses, it would have to increase prices by 40 or 50%.
Wait, so Osem's response then to this whole situation, because Osem defended the move as you expected, and as you said, by pinning it on their own rising costs. They said, quote, raw materials, packaging, and transportation costs have skyrocketed in a way that's unparalleled in the past. Unfortunately, the trend is continuing due to unprecedented costs, and even after deducting the effect of exchange rates, after taking every possible step, including absorbing the price increase for a long time, we're forced to update our prices that are partially compensated for the increase. How do you respond then? You're saying that this is totally justified, that actually it should even be higher than what they're raising it to?
Well, no, I side with consumers. I don't think it should be higher. Things are expensive as it is, but I am saying that their response has a lot of truth to it, because there were lockdowns. There are still lockdowns in certain parts of the world, and some workers cannot go back to work because they haven't been vaccinated and they don't want to be vaccinated. So there's a shortage in employees. And those who do want to work or are willing to work, you got to pay them a lot more. There's this case, I think it was in Canada, where restaurants pay $65 an hour for anybody who's willing to wash dishes, because nobody's willing to do it. So when a business has to pay so much to hire somebody, it's passed down to consumers. So in many cases, they really don't have any choice. And by the way, if you look at the whole chain system, transporting things today is much more expensive. Before Corona, it would cost $1,200 to lease a cargo container. Today, it costs $20,000. And if you look at the price of shipping a cargo container from one point to another point, it has also increased hundreds of percentage points. So it means that, a lot of times retailers just don't have a choice but to increase prices.
All right, well, so Vili...
Otherwise, they'll collapse and go bankrupt.
Well, so Vili, though, aside from, of course, what you're saying makes sense, but because of Osem's massive market share, there have actually also been calls, and I'm sure you know this, for investigation by the Competition Authority. Do you think that this investigation would yield any results? What, if anything, would Osem be guilty of? And if they're not guilty of anything, then are we going to see all of the other brands across the board starting to raise their prices as well?
Well, that there were accusations regarding price fixing in relation to Rami Levy and his retail store. I don't know if this is something that, we can accuse Osem of. But I think that once prices are increased by Osem, which is the third largest manufacturer in Israel. And by the way, it's owned by Nestle. And because Nestle is an international company, they're less sensitive to the concerns here in the Israeli public. It's an international company. They price their products based on cost. And they say, this is what it is. This is the price. So they're less sensitive. So had it been an Israeli company, maybe they would have been a little bit more sensitive to the public and more susceptible to public pressure. So I don't see whether this will really change things. Maybe you can postpone things a little bit, but I think that price hikes are inevitable. Although I'd like to share with you a recent report by the World Bank says that we're likely to see some stabilization in price hikes in 2022. So hopefully we will start the year with maybe a little bit, price hikes here in Israel, but then some level of stabilization. And by the way, the average family is expected to spend 5,000 shekels more a year on supermarket shopping next year, which is really, really, really crazy. I mean, as it is now, the average family spends more money than it brings in home every month. So now it's really going to be difficult, unfortunately, next year.
All right. Well, we have hopes for the best, of course, as always. Billy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
ILTV Plus, your news from Israel and more 24/7. Start your free trial today. Subscribe at iltv.tv and watch from any device.